This is episode 41 and a half of Stay on Topic, your favorite free podcast. I'm Chris Gill here with James Post.
Am I?
James Post? Are you James
Apparently
Post? Is this okay? And we're, weird. Feels like I should add something, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
You're getting old.
We are getting old.
Yeah.
Although you can play the elder card at any point. Oh shit, that's right. I am the elder now. On the podcast.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay. Well, hey, we got some stuff going on this week. We got new Congress, sorta.
Well, obviously not yet, but we do. So it's funny how this midterm played out, because for those of us who obsessively follow polls and who read Nate Silver's 538, this was really kind of a boring midterm election.
I don't think it was boring. I think if you live in New York State, I think, and especially in the 23rd Congressional District, probably seemed a little boring. Nothing changed here.
Yeah.
But elsewhere in the country, you have the first openly gay governor of a state.
Yeah.
You had...
Not to say that there weren't a lot of interesting stories going on within the scope of the election, but as far as the numbers and how it played out,
it played
out, pretty much exactly the way the polling said it would.
Yeah.
The expected gain for Democrats in the House was about 35 seats, and it looks like it's going to be 36.
Yep. And no one really, there would have had to have been a tectonic shift for the Democrats to take the Senate as well.
Well, and that's something that I think didn't get talked about enough. There was a lot of talk about Senate races, and one in particular, the Texas race between Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz. And that one, interestingly, didn't turn out nearly as close as some other races that didn't get talked about.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. But this was a terrible Senate map for Democrats.
Oh, yeah. It was awful.
They were defending a lot of Democratic seats in red states. And they were defending a lot of seats that they picked up in 2006, which was kind of its own little blue wave.
Yeah.
So they were bound to lose seats.
They were bound to lose, I don't think, or rather, I think the people who really thought the blue wave was going to be some kind of tsunami-like event, were just being very optimistic. As energized as the Democrats like to think they were on election day this go around, I think the Republicans were equally energized.
Yeah.
And it showed in the results. In New York, I believe, what was the voter turnout? 42%.
Yeah.
Which is damn good for a midterm.
It was quite high for a midterm.
Yeah. And that kind of played out across the country.
Yeah.
However, the Dems did not get the numbers to the polls that they were hoping to get.
No.
And in Georgia, some people weren't even allowed to go to the polls.
Yeah. Well, they were allowed to go to the polls, just not necessarily vote.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you guys come in, have some coffee. You can't exercise your right. And it's still not over, at least not in Florida.
Well, Florida and Arizona.
Yeah.
Two big Senate seats. In Florida, you got Bill Nelson and Rick Scott. That one's probably going to end up going to a recount.
Well, as of Friday, November 9th, they're separated by 15,000 votes, or 0.18%.
Yeah, and anything under 0.25, or is it 0.25 or 0.5? One of the two anyway. It's within that.
Yeah, it's well under
is an
that
automatic
threshold.
Recount. Yeah.
Yeah, so lawyers are flying down to Florida, Broward County, Palm Beach County again.
Yeah. Well, you've also got the governor race, and you've got the agriculture commissioner race, which is surprisingly impactful in Florida.
Yeah.
People care about that race in Florida. And right just north of there in Georgia, you've got a governor's race that's not quite done yet.
Yep.
And then you have Arizona with I'm going to butcher this name, Kirsten Sinema.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce
Sinema.
it. I
Versus
don't.
Martha McSally. You can guess which one of those is the Republican.
Yeah.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I don't know how to pronounce names anymore because I just don't watch news. I read everything. So my ability to pronunciate things is just forget about it. I can't do it. I think it's, journalism background. You read and write everything.
Yeah.
So your ability to pronunciate shit is just forget it.
But no, so it's, the House is pretty much a done deal.
Yeah.
And it was, it wasn't a lock, but it seemed pretty likely that Democrats were going to pick up the majority and a little more. The Senate's still kind of in play. Not that Democrats can take it over, but it's still possible, with the Florida race and the Arizona race could bring it back closer to that 50-50 where things like Supreme Court seats become a harder fight.
Right. Yep.
Where you start looking at the Susan Collins and people like that start coming into play. And interestingly enough, one of the only red state Democrats that kept their seat was Joe Manchin in West Virginia, who was also the only Democrat who voted to confirm Brett Kavanaugh. The other red state Democrats who voted against Brett Kavanaugh lost their seats. And
I don't want to read too much into that because what was the number 28 of 31 candidates that Trump went out and stumped for? Lost.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to read too much into that because...
Well, and that's a statistical weird situation because chances are if he was going there, it's because there was a problem to begin with.
True. Yeah. Yeah, problem. My favorite story, and it was anybody coming out of the district in Queens, I believe it is, any Democrat coming out of the district in Queens was going to win. Didn't matter. But Alexandria, and I'm going to butcher this one, Ocasio-Cortez. Yes. The best story of the entire election cycle. Winning the Democratic primary, 29 years old.
Yeah.
Can't move to D.C. until her government paycheck kicks in because she can't afford it. That's the best story of the year. Yeah.
And I loved on Twitter today, somebody in response to comments related to that, someone posted a Daily Mirror story criticizing her for posing for a photo shoot for Interview Magazine in a $4,500 suit. And this was in August or something. And it's, they don't get to keep those clothes, right?
Yeah, they're provided.
Yeah. In fact, they don't even get to pick out those clothes.
No.
But
she, in my estimation, she has kind of been the where we want to be story of the year. She, I don't want to say led, but she was a big star among all the women that won their races to get into Congress and the Senate. Just a former bartender.
Yeah.
That just really believed in ousted how many term incumbent?
Yeah. I mean, he'd been there for a while.
Second in command in the minority.
But you also don't want to overplay it because a lot of the more extreme liberal Um, a lot of the more lefty candidates that she backed and went and supported didn't win.
No.
And in a way, she was a good sort of watermark for the success of women, and particularly minority women,
Yeah.
Coming into the House in the next Congress. But her model of the unabashed democratic socialist didn't really end up carrying a lot of seats.
No, but it's something to aspire to. If you're really, if you have the wit and the wherewithal to do this, you can represent, your friends and neighbors in Congress.
Yeah.
That's what she proved. And that's huge, especially with all the money that's involved in it. I don't think she got a lot of support financially because she didn't need it. She was in a district that always goes blue.
Yeah.
So you could do it. Anybody can do this. And she proved that, and that's huge.
So is the opposite of that story then Steve King?
Probably.
Here's a guy who has identified as a white nationalist, who went and met with an actual Nazi party overseas, and who had the support of the National Republican Campaign Committee pulled from him after comments that he made, still handily retained his seat.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, you know what? There is no heaven without a hell.
Yeah. To me, that just, I don't see how that can even be a partisan issue. And it feels like it shouldn't be, considering, the mainstream Republican Party disowned him. And yet somehow...
Dead guy in Vegas won.
Yeah.
A dead brothel owner in Vegas.
Yeah.
Won an election. I mean, we're not saying all the voters are smart, but some of them have their finger on the pulse of what's happening. And I think we saw a bit of that happening.
Colbert did a bit where they had had a skit with that guy's opponent doing a concession where she talked about losing to a dead pimp. And she just kept saying, it's, even though we lost to a dead pimp, and my wife felt the need to point out that in Nevada, if you're a brothel owner, that is not the same as being a pimp.
That's true. Yeah. It's nice to make that distinction. Is anybody who has watched The Deuce knows, big difference between running a brothel and being a pimp.
Yeah.
Big difference. The Deuce, by the way, one of the great shows on television right now. Everyone should check that out. Mm-hmm. By the way, episode 41 and a half of Stay on Topic brought to you by Crown Royal Salted Caramel, Crown Royal Apple, and Ginger Ale with an apple slice.
It's just a great combination.
Perfect for the season. No pumpkin spice whatsoever.
And, visit our sponsors as always. Go to crownroyal.com.
Well, now everyone that listens to this has to be 21.
Yeah.
So thanks for fucking that up. Elsewhere, well, actually, before, Jeff Sessions, unemployed.
No, this was actually the day after.
Was it the day after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Day after Election Day, Jeff Sessions, large air quotes, resigned. Which is to say that he had apparently a resignation letter that said, "At your request, I have submitted my resignation," which was undated. And people have suggested that that's just been sitting on Trump's desk until he felt like using it.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I mean, he's had it in for Sessions. Not that honeymoon was quick.
Yeah, I mean, he's had it in for Sessions since he recused himself, and that was pretty much immediately.
Yeah. I am surprised it took this long.
Yeah.
Is he one of the last major holdovers.
Well, and they're still at the cabinet level as far as the real cabinet positions. A lot of those people are still around. It's people who work in the White House that have switched in and out a lot. But no, obviously the question that results from the firing of Jeff Sessions is what happens to Robert Mueller and his investigation. And people have been speculating whether he has sort of dead man switches ready to go, whether they're indictments that are just under seal,
right,
ready to go. And there was reporting last week that Donald Trump Jr. had been talking to friends saying he thought he was going to be indicted. So, the question is what happens now? And especially, if things had been timed to wait until after the election anyway, could we be seeing a report soon? Could we be seeing a wave of indictments soon?
Yeah. I'm still stunned that he lasted this long. And I cannot wait for him to talk.
Yeah.
Because he will. Because everybody eventually
does.
Yep. I can't wait to hear his side of things. And I hope it's relatively soon, just because I'm by nature impatient.
Yeah.
But I'm really intrigued to know. His agenda was clearly different than the president's.
Yeah.
And man, it seemed like a pretty stark contrast when he was tapped for that position.
Yeah. He is a guy who, it's all cards on the table. I disagree with on a whole lot of things, but he is absolutely a straight shooter about what he believes.
Yeah. He leaves no doubt.
There's no bullshit with Jeff Sessions.
No.
And I can see how that probably doesn't mix well with Donald Trump and the way he runs things. But now we've got Matt Whitaker.
Yeah.
As interim attorney general, and people questioning whether that's even legal.
Why are they questioning the legality? This is where I'm fuzzy.
And
not because of the Crown salted caramel, Crown apple, and ginger ale with an apple slice.
He didn't have a position anywhere in the Department of Justice. And he's never been approved by the Senate in any position.
Okay.
That's very different than taking the deputy attorney general and putting them in that position, which Trump doesn't want to do because he doesn't like Rod Rosenstein. But it's funny. My favorite Twitter lawyer, Ken White, also known as @Popat, noted that the appointment wasn't much more ridiculous than when Whitaker was named U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa by George W. Bush at age 34. 9 years out of law school.
Good Lord.
U.S. Attorney is a big fucking job.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Southern District of Iowa or anywhere else, that is a huge job. It's a political job, and it's a real prosecuting job at the same time. So that was a weird appointment to begin with. And this is a guy who has been vocal in his opposition to the Mueller investigation.
Yeah, every Trump loyalist has.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a guy who is a prosecutor, and a well-known Republican who has written op-eds about, why the Mueller investigation is going too far, that it would be inappropriate for them to go after Trump's personal finances in any kind of subpoena or, records request, and who went on television and said that the best way to stop the Mueller investigation would be for the Attorney General to defund the special counsel's office. Now he's going to be in a position to do that.
Yeah. Bad time. This is where we just need good reporting. Maybe if Jim Acosta could get on this for us.
That's You know what gets me about that thing, that whole thing?
Which part?
It was obviously, it was a bad idea for a White House intern to go and try and grab a mic from the guy who's sort of, at this point, the de facto leader of the White House press corps.
Yeah.
Just by, you know, his vocalness and his relationship with the president. What they knew was going to be broadcast live on many channels.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, and I know that the video that's been going around,
the raw video or the doctored one?
The video that's been going around, that's been spread by the White House, is doctored. I mean, if you look at the two side by side, it's not like
not even well done.
It's not like they CG'd the thing. No. And I think that's where people are saying, what do you mean it's doctored? If you look at it frame by frame, they cut frames to make the action where he kind of pushes on the intern's arm from sort of a pushing away into what looks like a karate chop at her elbow. And it's a subtle difference, but it's noticeable. And it makes the action look a lot more aggressive than it was. At the same time, I feel like if I'd been in Acosta's position, I probably would have handled it differently.
I definitely would not have made contact with her.
Yeah.
I would have backed away or recoiled or anything. I mean, when you're in that moment, there's got to be a thing in the back of your head that says, you know, hey man, don't go for the block.
Yeah. How am I going to look as a 50-year-old, pretty large man trying to deflect this practically teenage girl? I haven't seen any information about her, which I'm glad about. I'm glad to see that people
I'm sure it's out there.
Doxed her.
Oh, I'm sure it's out there.
Yeah, it probably is, but not places I've seen.
No.
As she shouldn't be part of the story. But it seems like it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't send a White House employee to pull the microphone out of the hand of a member of the press,
especially one with a veteran member who has been there that long and has, you know, the stature that he does among his peers and among the viewers.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who watches a bit of news knows who Jim Acosta is.
But it's
akin to that happening to a younger Dan Rather when he was covering the White House.
Yeah. But it's also sad that there's now a situation where, with some small percentage of plausibility, Sarah Huckabee Sanders can say that they revoked his press credentials because he put his hands on a White House intern.
Mm-hmm. Which he
with
did.
All of the disgustingness that implies.
Yeah.
And the level of disingenuousness that takes coming from that White House.
Yeah, it was, well, okay, yeah, that was ugly. Today, it got even uglier when Trump shut down a reporter outside the White House.
Yeah.
This is going to get worse.
Yes.
The tension between the White House and the press. And add on top of that, you had Sean Hannity show up at a Trump or when Trump was stumping for somebody.
Yeah. It was a rally.
Sean Hannity shows up
and told his own, I don't know. There's some dispute about what his employers knew about what he was going to be doing. They claim that if they had known he was going to be appearing on stage, that would not have been allowed.
Right.
It looks bad for everybody.
Yeah. Not really. not to the Fox News viewers.
No.
It looks bad to everybody
to the
but
10 of us left who are rational.
Yeah. Exactly. But I just don't see this relationship with the press getting any better anytime soon. I mean, it's been strained since Inauguration Day.
Yes.
And I'm surprised that it hasn't degenerated quicker.
Yeah, but I saw somebody say, and I can't remember who it was, that we've seen Trump winning, and now we're going to see what it looks like when Trump is losing, and that's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this.
Yeah.
This is...
And that goes on to, the midterms, with the exception of a few races, which are important.
Yeah.
But the midterms are basically over. There's going to be a new Congress sworn in January. And now will come the time where we'll determine whether Democrats blow it.
That was my last question to wrap up the politics end of this.
Yeah.
Every time the Democrats have a win, they seem to manage to fumble the ball. So they make an interception, run it back to the 50. Somewhere.
And then shit themselves right there in midfield.
On first or second down, they fumble that shit. How do they fuck this up?
I mean, the biggest thing they can do is to overplay their hand on the investigatory side. If they decide that they're going to open 7 different investigations into every aspect of Trump and the White House, they're going to look like it's just payback.
Yep.
And it's by the time 2020 comes around, it's going to be a pox on both their houses.
And I believe it was Schumer who said we're not going after them with a ferocity that they've attacked us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's from one senator and a senior senator.
But, another senior senator, Mitch McConnell, talked about presidential oversight versus, what was the term he used?
Oh, shit, yeah.
Presidential harassment. And said, we tried that in the late 90s, referring to the impeachment of President Bill Clinton, and said it didn't work. His poll numbers were going up and ours were going down. As a piece of friendly advice to the soon-to-be Democratic majority in the House.
Yeah.
We've tried playing incredibly dirty politics. We admit it. I wouldn't suggest it to you.
Well, I don't know. The offenses here are kind of night and day.
Well,
Bill Clinton's was lying about putting his dick where it shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Trump's is about putting his money where it shouldn't go.
Yeah.
Or getting his money where it shouldn't come from, whatever the case may be.
And I'm not drawing the parallel. Mitch McConnell is.
Yeah.
But it's telling that he admits that it was just his own word was harassment. But that just because we believe that there is something there doesn't mean that Democrats can't overplay their hand and fuck this up.
Yeah, and
they have a talent for it.
They're expertly suited to fuck this up.
Yeah.
They fucked up healthcare when they had, both houses and the presidency. Yeah, they could easily fuck this up.
I did want to take a step back because I failed to make a very important reference.
West Wing?
Yes.
I know.
In terms of Jeff Sessions and the Mueller investigation. And as soon as that came, I started thinking about, I believe it was a season 3 episode of The West Wing called Ways and Means. That was an episode in which C.J. Craig, the press secretary, decides that the investigation into the president's failure to disclose that he had multiple sclerosis was not going to go well for them if it was conducted by the special prosecutor who had been appointed, because he appeared too much of a straight shooter. There wasn't anything to go after him for. He was the real deal. He was not a frothing at the mouth Republican who just wanted to take them down. He was a good guy.
Right.
And decides that she's going to play the press in such a way as to force the House to open their own investigation, because they prefer to have this fight. The White House on the West Wing preferred to have this fight with the House, which was considered partisan and Republican controlled. So I think the parallel there is a little bit on the nose.
Yeah.
Is Trump that smart?
No, Trump isn't, but some of the people around him are pretty bright.
You know, do they think they're at the point where they can try to shut down the Mueller investigation, force the Democrats' hand to start opening a bunch of investigations, maybe even float impeachment in the House, and turn it into a partisan fight instead of a legal investigation? Are they choosing that fight?
Somebody around Trump is that smart. I really believe he has at least one person will think of this. Maybe even not in the White House. You know, maybe he makes a call to Roger Stone or somebody.
Yeah.
He's exactly the kind of slime ball that would slither to that conclusion. But yeah, that could absolutely happen. I just don't think it's going to come from Trump. Trump's not that smart.
Yeah.
But
where do we go from here?
We shift gears. It wasn't an official stand topic inquiry, but I just put it out there. I don't know why it got in my head, but the B-52s...
No, nothing good.
We know them, we love them. What if they did an album of cover songs? What songs are best suited for the B-52s to cover, or what would you want to hear the B-52s cover? I came up with two off the top of my head. Jumpin' Jack Flash. I think that would serve them well. And Sweating Bullets, the Megadeth sort of classic.
Yeah.
Not among Megadeth fans, but among pop culture. We had a few responses. Like I said, it was unofficial. It wasn't Stand Topic sanctioned. Ben Norgong had a really good suggestion for them to cover Paint It Black.
I can actually kind of hear that.
If you speed the tempo up,
yeah,
that's a B-52 song.
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. Justin Rector suggested Walking on the Sun by Smash Mouth. And the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, yeah, I can hear that in my head. Of course, Woodsky, our buddy from Camp Hooligan, said all the songs. And Eric Hoffman suggested My Ding-a-Ling, which I get where it's going, but My Ding-a-Ling is already a novelty song.
Yeah. It's like saying you want them to cover Particle Man.
Right? It doesn't work.
Istanbul, not Constantinople.
And Kim Sapone, Benz, suggested Big Balls. Again, kind of another novelty song. I think a couple of people missed the point here with this one. But any suggestions you might have, James, that you would want to hear the B-52s cover?
I'm going to say Mozart's Piano Sonata in C minor.
Not acceptable.
No. It was the first thing to come to mind.
How about Immigrant Song?
Wow. I'm not sure I want to hear anybody cover Immigrant Song.
Oh God. I'm trying to come up with songs with some backing vocals already.
Yeah.
So anything by the Monkees or Beatles would be great.
By which you mean ruined.
Exactly. Like Octopus's Garden.
To make it clear, I don't think the B-52s are good.
are good or are good at what they do. There's a difference.
Yeah. And they are good at what they do. They don't make good music.
Well, not by somebody's standards who performs music as you do. You are a musician.
I can point you to several college professors who would argue with that point.
But what they do is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like candy or dessert or sugar. You're not meant to take in a lot of it, but when you do, my God, it's so fucking great.
Yeah.
So that's my take on the B-52s. Yeah, and kind of pop culture type news. Marvel is really making a push to win a goddamn Oscar.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is at the behest of Disney or if this is coming from within Marvel Studios, which, yes, it's owned by Disney, but is very much its own thing.
Yeah.
But they put in for 16 nominations for Black Panther, which to me is a very middling movie.
Yeah, that's a conversation we've had before.
Yep. But just this week, they put in 11 for Infinity War, and I think they may have a case for this one.
In my opinion, that's a better movie.
I watched it again just a few nights ago, and I'm gonna put it up there in my top 5 of all time favorite movies.
Yeah,
it's that enjoyable. So Marvel put in for the following categories: Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, which
that's a stretch
a bit. Best Film Editing, I can see. Cinematography.
I'm sorry. I can see somebody watching that movie and then just pulling out the Infinity War trade and then trying to figure out how it was adapted.
It's adapted from like 8 different Marvel comic storylines. Best cinematography. I didn't really get that. I've seen much better cinematography. Best production design. Okay. Costume design. Another baffling one.
Production design and costume design are always going to be categories that favor period pieces or movies in a specific setting. Anything that jumps around all over the place, you're kind of not helping yourself.
Not only that, but both the production design and costume designs were set years in advance with the other characters' costumes. So what do you really, you haven't, so yeah, take the makeup and hairstyling, sound mixing, I guess.
Well, those technical awards, they're probably going to end up in the mix anyway.
They're basically, they want to call Infinity War an Oscar winning film, no matter what category it wins.
And that's, at one level, I see that drive.
Yeah.
At another level, I feel like there has to be somebody at a high level in Marvel Studios or Disney who understands what this leads to. You just end up waking up crying half naked with a wad of cash on the table. It's the Oscars are not respectability. They're just not.
It would be a big deal for a CBM to win. Well, I guess Dark Knight did with Heath Ledger's Oscar. Like that was the big get for a comic book movie. Best supporting actor. Yeah. That was fucking huge.
I don't even remember that happened until you mentioned it.
No shit.
I am the target market for these movies.
Wow. Weird.
I don't give a shit about the Oscars. Couldn't possibly care less than I do.
Huh. So you don't care about best sound editing or best original score, which Disney also lobbied for.
I care about sound editing and I care about a good score. I don't think the Oscar voters are very good at judging those things.
No, but
sound editing is incredibly important. We should definitely have awards for that. They should be judged by, sound editors.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
that would be kind of, yeah, that'd be really dope. And we also have Henry Cavill is going to be the Witcher.
Yeah, that one's a little strange.
It's really tough for me to picture him in that role.
As they put out that picture of him.
My apple
in the getup.
slice is stuck in the bottom of the glass.
And people said, here's the thing that gets me, is that there's a backlash to that picture. People obviously have issues with Cavill, and I haven't seen him do anything particularly good.
Man from Uncle. It's a very underrated movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
It's a whole lot of fun. And he's very good in it.
Yeah.
I think for what he was asked to do in the DCEU,
yeah,
he did well. It's just he was asked to do some stupid shit.
Yeah.
Or shit that was against the character that we knew.
But, there was this backlash from people saying, well, that doesn't look like Geralt of Rivia, who is the character he's going to be playing. And then the counter backlash of people saying, well, it's not based on the video games. It's based on the books, which are Polish, and only some of them have ever been translated into English. And I'm sorry, it's incredibly disingenuous to say this is not based on the video games.
Yeah.
That the video games, and in particular, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, had not been large commercial successes, no one would have been considering making a TV series based on The Witcher.
Much less.
You can't disconnect the things.
A multi-million-dollar movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... No, Cavill is a very good actor. A fine actor, as some might say. He's just going to get a bad rap from the genre folk.
Yeah.
Because he was
by
in
association with DCEU.
Three subpar movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, one was subpar, one was god-awful, and one was just, a disaster.
A parody of itself.
Yeah. But he was not the reason that they were bad.
No.
He was given bad direction.
His mustache might have been the reason that Justice
League was bad.
Yeah,
that was pretty bad.
So, moving on, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Have you seen any of the second season of the Castlevania series?
I have not. I'm finished Daredevil S3 and have not gotten to Castlevania yet.
So, for those who aren't familiar, there's a Castlevania series on Netflix.
We've discussed on this podcast before.
Yeah. Written by Warren Ellis, which is a huge endorsement of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really need to know anything or care about the video game. If you like the idea of a guy with a whip fighting Dracula and a lot of cursing and gore, here you go. Watch Castlevania.
In an anime style.
Yeah. In an anime style, not anime.
Right.
There's no real connection to Japanese anything. It's beautiful. It's well written.
Great new kind of, I don't want to say twist, but a great reimagining of that story.
Yeah, which is specifically the story of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse on the NES. Which is such an interesting thing to choose. It's not by any means the most popular of those games. But no, so I'm about halfway through the second season. The first season was only 4 episodes. The second season is only 8. So I'm about halfway through the second season. Really enjoying it. It's becoming a little more, I don't want to say rote, because it's not. But it's becoming a little more inside the box. Than the first season was.
Yeah.
Almost by necessity. In order to turn it into a series that's going to go on, you have to spend time like establishing secondary villains.
Right.
Things like that. So that's kind of where they are now. But it's as far as what I could say now, well, given that Chris hasn't seen any of it, huge recommend. People should check it out.
then I will do so.
Yeah.
I imagine I'll be quite hungover Sunday, so I'll check it out then. Hey, Sundays are the best for just being hungover and binge watching something.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Deuce season 2 just wrapped up on HBO. Just anything David Simon does is just fantastic.
Yeah.
And The Deuce is, I don't know. No, it's second only to The Wire in terms of the Simon verse.
You've just made that a thing now.
I just made it a thing. That's sweet. But HBO is really firing on all cylinders, and it's only going to get better in 2019. Are you familiar with what's coming in 2019 on HBO?
Well, I was going to mention one thing, and that is I have not seen any of True Detective, but I've seen YouTube ads for this is season 3 of True Detective, and they've got motherfucking Mahershala Ali out front.
Oh yeah,
that'll get me in. Not having seen any of the rest of it, he's enough.
It's basically anthologies. So season 1's its own thing, season 2 is its own thing, season 3 will be its own thing, and they do not interconnect at all.
Yeah.
Season 1 is a must. You must see that. Season 2, yeah, you can skip that.
Apparently there's sort of proto-Lovecraftian influences in the first season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally worth your time. But so you're going to have
proto-Lovecraftian in that it's references to what's his name? Robert. Oh God.
Smigel?
Anyway, he's a writer who actually influenced Lovecraft.
Oh Jesus! Oh God!
That's who wrote The King in Yellow.
Mm.
And I'm gonna feel really stupid that I can't remember his last name. But anyway.
Yeah. So I think that's coming actually to close out 2018. True Detective season 3.
I'm thinking January, but
is it January?
Yeah.
If that's January, that Jesus, they are HBO's loaded. And seriously, we're not paid by HBO. They're just going to put out some great fucking content in the next year. They're going to have that. They're going to have a brand new Joss Whedon series. They're going to have the Watchmen Damon Lindelof series.
Yeah.
They're going to have the finale to Game of Thrones, in addition to Westworld. And my God, that's the best content on TV right now.
Yeah.
Netflix, God bless them. They put out a lot of stuff, but they just throw a lot of shit against the wall.
Yeah.
And I think they're losing some clout with quality stuff. They've got everybody licked in quantity.
Yeah.
But boy, their quality slipped.
Boy, they try.
Yeah, good, good on them. Like I thoroughly enjoyed Daredevil season 3. I thought that
still haven't finished it.
I thought that was the strongest thing they've done since Jessica Jones season 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not to the level of anything I just mentioned on HBO.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And also in a month, Just Cause 4 comes out.
Yeah.
Have you seen the batshit crazy things they're giving you to do in that?
I've seen trailers. I haven't followed it that closely.
I have followed Rico Rodriguez's next installment quite closely, and I cannot wait for that game. I'm still playing Gran Turismo Sport to fill the time until that game drops on December 4th.
Yeah.
I took that day off.
Wow. Okay.
I had days to burn before the end of the year.
You'd call that a recommendation?
It's a recommendation for me because they're like, yeah, it has a story, but you're not going to give a shit about the story. You're just going to run around this pretend Central American world and do and just be as creatively destructive as you can be.
Yeah.
My favorite kind of sandbox game ever. It's good stuff. What are you looking forward to the most?
Wow. I'm on vacation next week.
So what are you gonna do? Anything great?
No.
Okay.
Not really anything I haven't mentioned before. I want to check out the Fist of the North Star video game that's being made by the same people who made Yakuza. I've got Kingdom Hearts 3 in January because I'm still a 12-year-old girl. And still haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2. So
Yeah. Our buddy Jeff Shaver, friend of the podcast, asked about that, and I'm not into Rockstar games.
yeah,
I don't like the mechanics. I don't like a lot of the overall themes that they put out there. It's very pandering, a lot of the stuff they do, and I'm not into it. And I feel like I'm missing this giant cultural movement. But
you are.
Yeah, and the Old West bores the shit out of me.
Okay.
Except for Unforgiven. That was dope.
All right.
You want to play us out?
No.
Okay. Let's end there then.